Hi everyone, this is Aaron. I hope you all had a great weekend. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. I create videos on Oracle ERP Cloud, EPM, and Analytics. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos on Oracle ERP Cloud, EPM, and Analytics. Today's video is going to be focusing on Oracle Integration Cloud. So let's have some fun with Oracle Integration Cloud. We're going to create a simple calculator REST API using Oracle Integration Cloud. So we're going to check a few things and learn a few things. First one is how to create a REST adapter connection. Second is going to be creating the integration itself, so the processes, the calculation logic, and the business logic. We're going to have 5 simple operations: add, subtract, multiply, divide, and mod. We're going to test the REST API from Oracle Integration Cloud Console, test it from Postman, and also look at how to monitor the instances or the requests that you're invoking. I am logged into the Oracle Integration Cloud instance. I hope you have access. So the first thing we want to do is click on the hamburger icon, go to integrations. We're going to focusing mostly on integrations tab and the connections tab. First, before we do any integration, we first have to create a connection. So let's click on connections and click on create. Search for REST adapter. Select the REST adapter and click on the select button. You can give it a name, an identifier, and the role. Those are the mandatory fields, but you obviously can give description and keyword. I'm going to give a Raj REST calc connection. I chose trigger because we are going to be triggering this REST API. So the role is going to be trigger. Click on create. And you have different security policies that you can utilize. I'm going to use basic authentication, which is, when you invoke the REST API, you're going to pass the password, username and password when you invoke the REST API. All right, once you have set up all these fields and the security policy, click on save. Make sure to click on test and then save it one more time. Go back to the connections and you can see that our connection, the REST API connection has been created. You can see the type is REST, usage 0 integrations, so no integrations are using these connections. And you can see the last updated time. The status is configured. All right, next thing is let's go to the integrations tab, click on create, and we're going to select the app-driven orchestration integration style. If you want to learn more about the different integration styles, let me know. I can create a separate video on that. For now, let's select app-driven orchestration, click on select. Give it a name, identifier, version is auto-populated, but you can change it. So I'm going to say a Raj calc REST API. You can give a package name. A package name is useful if you have multiple integrations. And let's say you want to move all of those integrations from one instance to another. So if you use a package, you can export the package and import the package into the other instance. So that way, all of the integrations that are associated with that package is moved during that operation. If you don't have a package, you have to export each individual integration from one instance and then import it back into the other instance. So it's a lot more work if you don't use a package. You obviously can give a description, documentation URL, keywords, etc., etc. But we're going to keep it simple. Just enter the name, identifier, version is auto-populated. You can change it if you want to. Click on create. Great. The layout is vertical by default. So let's change it to horizontal. So you click on the layout option, change it to horizontal. And by default, it's going to show you this option where it'll prompt you to search the connection that we created, connection. So you can, select from pre-existing connections or the one that you just created. So I want to use the one that I created, which is a Raj REST calc connection. All right. So the first thing is, what do you want to call your endpoint? I'm going to call it as calculate. Awesome. You can provide a description. I'm not going to worry about it for now. Click on next. Oops. No slash needed. So just the word. All right. Provide an operation name. What does this operation do? I'm going to say arithmetic calculations. And what is the endpoint's relative source URI? So this is where we're going to specify the parameters that these REST API needs, right? So think about our arithmetic calculations. We're going to assume that we're going to pass in two numbers and the operation. So operation can be add, subtract, multiply, divide, and mod, and the two other numbers. So we need to specify three template parameters, one for operation, one for number one for number two. All right. So the way we're going to specify that is, within curly braces, we're going to say operation, and this one will be number one, and this will be number two. So anything in the curly braces, OIC understands that these are template parameters. All right. And the final format for this would be something like this. And since our endpoint is calculate, we're going to specify this like this. So the API endpoint is going to be /calculate/, and then we're going to prompt the user to pass these three different parameters. So let's copy that and paste it here. And you can see that the type is action type is get. You obviously have put, post, delete, and patch, but we're going to invoke the REST API and we're going to get a response back from the REST API. For that to work, you make sure you configure this endpoint to receive the response. So check this box. All right, click next. And you can see that OIC has already created three different template parameters and assigned the default data types. Operation string is fine. Number one, this I'm going to change to integer. Number two, I'm going to change to integer. That's all what we need to do here. And click next. All right, here, I'm going to change the response payload format to JSON. And if you have a JSON format already on your desktop, you can upload that into the system using this choose file option. I'm just going to specify that manually. So curly braces. So what am I expecting back? I'm expecting back the result and the result back. So if I could spell right. All right. So result and the number, right? Whatever that number is going to be. So it doesn't matter what you specify here. This is just to specify the type of the response and also the format of the response. Click OK. All right. And you can see that the media type is JSON because we are expecting a JSON. And click on next. You can see the calculate, that's the endpoint of our REST API. And REST service URI is going to be calculate, and then three different template parameters. Method is get, and response media type is JSON. Awesome. We're done with this. Click on done. All right. Now to the exciting stuff. So click the map to calculate icon and click on edit. And this is where we're going to specify all the calculation logic. So here you can see that you have three different panes. One is the source pane, the mapping, and the target. If I expand template parameters, you can see the three different parameters here. And if I expand the response wrapper, you can see the result. So this is the result. The result is what we're getting back in the JSON response. These are the three different parameters that we are passing when we invoke the REST API. All right. So let's do a pretty simple mapping. I'm going to right click result and select create target node. Down below, you're going to see this expression builder, right? Right now it is in view only mode. Click on the switch to developer view. Now you should be able to enter information or add, type in whatever you want to do. In this case, let's do a simple one, which is number 1 and number 1 plus number 2. So what I'm specifying here is the result is going to be addition of these two numbers. Make sure you click on the save icon, right? Otherwise, it's not going to save. So now you can see that the mapping canvas shows you the plus icon. So number 1 plus number 2 is mapped to the result. Now you can test it from here. So let's click on the test tab. Click on generate inputs. It's going to generate some dummy inputs. Not worry about any of the inputs. I'm going to change this to 10 and 10. All right. Then click on execute. Scroll all the way down. You're going to see the result as 20. So it just took these two numbers, 10 and 10, and added those numbers and responded with the result. Let me change this to 40 so you can see that it is working. Scroll down, you're going to see 50. All right. All right. But what we want to do is something different, right? If the operation is add those two numbers. If the operation is multiply, you have to multiply those numbers, right? So I'm going to delete whatever I had in here. So the mapping is gone. Now, we have to do some XSLT operations. And I'm going to walk you through that. But what we want to do is check for the operation, and then based on the operation, we have to perform the corresponding arithmetic calculation. So addition, subtraction, multiply, division, and mod. So you're going to see this XSLT option up here. So click on that. And I'm sure you're going to say, okay, what just happened? Don't worry. Click on the toggle functions option. And now you're going to see you have functions, operators, and the XSLT tab. So click expand XSLT, expand flow control, and expand output. Now let me expand the result here. So we're going to use choose option, choose, when, and value of. Those are the three options that we're going to choose for this tutorial. Think of choose as case statement in SQL. So we're going to check for each condition, and then we are going to perform the corresponding arithmetic operation. Let's drag and drop choose to the bottom left of the result. Now you're going to see the choose option here. We're going to have 5 different conditions, right? We're going to check when operation is equal to add, perform this operation. When operation is equal to division or divide, then perform division, right? But just to make things a little simpler, let's first check for 1, and then we will do the rest of the operations. So I'm going to drag and drop when to the left bottom of choose, right? Here I'm going to specify the condition that I want to check. What I want to do is check if the operation is equal to add. So I'm checking if the operation is equal to add. Make sure you save. If it is add, what should be the value that I want to assign to the response, right? So for that, we're going to use the value of function or the operation. So again, drag and drop it to the left bottom of when. And this is where I'm going to specify the calculation logic. So I'm going to say number 1 plus number 2. All right. So what I just did is I checked the operation when operation equal to add. The value should be addition of these two numbers. All right. If you're going to click on validate, make sure everything is fine. And then you can see that the mapping is valid and ready to use here. Let's go ahead and test this. So I'm going to generate the input one more time. Here you're going to see the operation is operation 821. And let me change these numbers to something simple, 100, and let's make it 50. Right? Now I'm not going to change the operation. Let's click on execute. You're going to see that we did not get any result. And that's because we're checking for the operation add. And what we have specified is operation 821. So let's change that to add and then click on execute. Now you should see 150, right? So we're checking for the operation add. If it is add these two numbers and respond with the result. That's what we just did. All right, I hope that's clear. Now let's go back to the designer. All right, now we have to add 4 more when operators, right? For each when, we're going to specify the value. So let's go ahead and add those 4 whens. When, that'll be for subtraction. This is for multiplication. This is for division. And this is for mod. All right. So I'm going to go to the second when. And I'm going to specify. Okay, let me first go to the first when. I'm going to copy this information. And then go into the second when. I'm going to say this is equal to subtract. All right. So the operation is subtract. Then I want the value to be number 1 minus number 2. So subtract number 2 from number 1. Click on save. I'm pretty sure I didn't save. I did. Okay, cool. So we have 2 operations done. Here for the third one, I'm going to specify if the operation is multiply. The value should be number 1 multiplied by number 2. And for the fourth when, I'm going to specify if this is divide, the value should be, come on, okay. The value should be number 1 divided by number 2. Now, you cannot use the / to divide, right? We're going to use the div option. So I went into operators and selected division. And for the last one, I'm going to specify mod. Yes. And the value is going to be number 1 mod. Again, go into operators and you see the mod option here. So drag and drop that in here. So here, number 1 mod, number 2. All right. Now you can see that all of the conditions are set, all of the calculation logics are set. So if I hover over here, I can see that this operation is add. And here I can see that it is adding those two numbers. So if you hover over condition, it will tell you what condition it is. And also you can see the operation if you hover over the operation mapping. All right, click on validate. Let's go back to test. I don't want to go back to test. You're going to see this error here. Don't worry about it. Click on the properties, go to tracking, and drag and drop operation into the tracking field. Also number 1 and number 2. This is useful when you want to track the inputs and debug any issues that you have. I can give more explanation later in a separate video, but we need this to be set for the REST API to work. All right, so you can see that the error is gone. You can click on save and click close. The integrations tab, the status shows as configured. I'm going to change that to activate. So I'm going to enable tracing and include payload. Again, when you're developing, this is very useful for you to trace the input and the different messages and helps you with debugging. Click on activate. It's going to take a few seconds for the integration to be active. So be patient. If I go back to connections, you can see that usage says 1 integration because we just used this connection in the integration. All right, the integration is active. Let's go ahead and test it. So I can click on the run icon and it's going to show you how to run, test, and track instances. How to run this just opens up the Oracle documentation. Test is where we're going to test within Oracle Integration Cloud Console. Track instances, it just tracks the different instances that were invoked. The metadata is important, so let's click on the metadata. This is going to show you the endpoint URL that we have to use while invoking it from Postman or SoapUI or Python or PowerShell or JavaScript or whatever. So this is what we're going to use to invoke from Postman later in the video. So I have copied that information. And let's go back here. Now let's click on test. All right. So you have number 1, number 2, and the operation. So operation is going to be add. Number 1 is going to be 5, and number 2 is going to be 2. So let's test it out. You can see that the result is equal to 7. You can also see that the integration has been invoked with instance ID 21201045. So if you click on that, it's going to take you to that specific instance, and then you can see the different messages, the inputs, and the output. And I'm going to show you that later in the video. All right, let's change this to multiply. I get the result of 10. Awesome. And divide 5 by 2 is 2.5. Awesome. Mod 5 by 2, the remainder is going to be 1, so that's cool. Subtract. And 5 minus 2 is 3. And up in the URL, you can see that the endpoint URL, you can see that the first one is subtract, that's the input. Second input is 5, third input is 2. So that's how we're going to test it in Postman. Now let's click on the instance ID. And it's going to show you the instance that was invoked. Click on the properties and go to view activity stream. You can see the different messages here. So click on the first message and you'll see the template parameters section. The first one is number 1, number 2, and the operation. So number 1 is 5, number 2 is 2, and the operation is subtract. Awesome. Now let's look at the response message. All the way down, you'll see the result is 3. So 5 minus 2, 3. So that's how you can check the activity stream, the inputs and the outputs, and see what error happened. If there are any errors, this will help you in debugging the issue. All right, I'm going to close this. Let's go back to monitoring and integrations. Click on integrations. And you're going to see this ARAG Calc REST API integration we just created. And you can see the different numbers here: received 5, processed 5, succeeded 5, errored and aborted. We didn't have any errors. But if I click on one of these, it's going to show you the different instances that were invoked, and you can click on the specific instance and then look at the activity stream, and look at the messages and see if there's anything wrong. You can look through the messages and figure that out. All right, so that's how you can monitor it. Now let's go ahead and test it using Postman. So I already copied the endpoint URL. I'm going to use that in Postman. Pretty sure I tested this out, so it should already be there. All right, so I'm going to change this to this. Right, so this is the endpoint URL. Authorization. Authorization, you have to make sure that you go into the authorization tab, select basic auth, and give the OIC username and password. And up top in the URL, make sure you do change this to add. Give the number 1, give the number 2. Make sure the operation is get, and click on send. And you should see the response back saying result is equal to 15. I can change this to divide. Click on send. And it's going to show me result of 2. All right. So that's how you can create a simple calculator REST API using Oracle Integration Cloud. I want to show you this because you learned how to use XSLT operations, and that is very important when you work on actual integrations using OIC. Now you can take this, make edits. Instead of divide, you could have some other character sent to the REST API. So for addition you could send plus, for subtraction you could send minus, and all that kind of stuff. So you can customize this REST API that we just built. In this specific instance, right now it is case sensitive. The operation is case sensitive. You could change this so that it is case insensitive. So make it case insensitive. Maybe that's a challenge for you guys. If you want to take a crack at that, please go ahead and do that. I hope this was helpful. I'll be creating more videos for Oracle Integration Cloud in the future, but let me know what you think about this one. This was a little lengthier because I wanted to show all of these things. And I hope you had fun doing this exercise with me. All right. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. For more videos on Oracle ERP Cloud, EPM, analytics, integrations, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your feedback is always welcome. You can also connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn, follow me on Medium. I do have a podcast. It's called Oracle Cloud Bytes. The season 1, episode 2 is coming out pretty soon, hopefully in the next 2 days. So listen to it and let me know your feedback and suggestions for that as well. All right, I'm going to wish you all a good Sunday, and I'll talk to you pretty soon in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.